that's the topic of choosing the leadership style, I guess let's really kind of like break it down and go to what are the leadership styles? What does it mean leadership? What does that look like? So, leadership expert, please take it away.
Well, I want to come back to what you were just saying about attracting also and throw out there, John Maxwell wrote the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And this is the 25th anniversary of that. So he's recently updated the book. But one of the
Wow.
laws is the law of magnetism. You
Mm,
attract who you are.
yeah.
And I mean, that is so true. Leadership styles. And leadership styles. I taught a leadership class. Oh, it's probably been within the last 10 or 15 years at a church that we were attending. And I asked the question, who in here are leaders? And
Mm,
I think there were about 50 some people approximately. So I said, who are you? Who in here are leaders? I had three people raise their hands.
wow.
Yeah. And then I asked, why did no one else raise their hands? And I just got a couple mumbles and stuff like that. So I said, whose fathers, whose mothers, uncles, brothers, so
Right.
forth and so on like that. And I said, why did you three raise your hands? I was like, well, because I'm a supervisor at such and such company and so forth like that. So that's where some of the problem starts to begin, even before we start talking about leadership styles, is
Mm,
people think that they have to have a title or a
mm,
position to make them a leader.
Right.
And a position of authority does not make a leader. Uh, just because I was a battalion chief and I had two crossed, trumpets, speaking trumpets on my collar or in a badge doesn't make me a leader. When I was in the military, stripes or officers, with their collar, that doesn't make somebody a leader. And that's really a false notion that exists, out there. So
right.
coming back now to the leadership styles, I'll tell you and you guys and the listeners, here's a mistake that I made years back relative to leadership styles. And I got stuck into the false notion that I had to pick a style and that was
Mm,
me. And I had to stick with that. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you talk about a guy that had to learn some hard lessons. I
mm,
mean, I had to learn some hard. I tell people I had an industrial belt sander put to my rear end more than one time, you know, because of that stuff. But it's like I say, oh, authoritarian. That's me. Yeah, I'm
mhm.
the authoritarian guy. Now I'm the sergeant.
Yeah.
And how did I learn how to be a sergeant? Yeah, I went to NCO school, but I learned how to be a sergeant by watching all the World War II war movies and John Wayne and and stuff like that. And it's like, and I
Yeah.
still do like watching those movies. And you can learn a lot from them, but you can also learn what not to be,
Yeah.
Right.
from those movies. Because initially, the three styles that were taught for years and years and years, was authoritative, democratic, and
Mm,
laissez-faire. And I'll
yeah.
tell you, I thought for so long, I mean, I went years thinking laissez faire. For all intents and purposes, in my book, that was a four-letter curse word.
It's true. That's all the same.
you know? And why? Because I didn't truly understand the concept behind laissez faire.
Mhm.
I was just thinking that, hey, it's these people, that I was working for at the time that just they didn't care,
Yeah.
so forth like that. And I had mentioned in the pre-show about the podcast when you asked Baruch, what got him to study leadership, and he said poor leadership. I think, yeah, man, you're right on target. Because that's what got me to digging into more. So as
Mhm.
I progressed through the years and I learned more and I started digging in more on my own and reading and studying leadership, it's like two others popped up:
Mm,
transformational and transactional.
yeah.
Oh, and the transactional is you do this or this is going to happen. You do this and you'll get this. It's like, well, okay, transactional. Yeah, I work for Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, and I go to work, and twice a month I got a paycheck. That's
Right.
transactional. you
Mm,
know, I was trading my hours for a paycheck. what I learned out of those 5 styles there, and then you mentioned on in the podcast that there's so many more that are mentioned out there. 'Cause servant
Yeah.
leadership has been big
Mhm.
for I don't know, maybe 15 years or at least 15 years. Where it's
Sure.
gotten really popular. People talk about servant leadership, but
Mhm.
transformational leadership. When we take that approach, that what is leadership? You mentioned them on the Maxwell team. Well, Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And there's a lot of truth, to that is, we are influencing people. I can influence people from a humane side, or I can influence them with the
Yeah.
threat, of being
Mhm.
fired, being written up, and so forth and
Yeah.
so on like that. But when you look at leadership and management, and there's always that, you know, age old argument about that. And I break it down into the fact that leadership is people and management is things. I got a
Mm.
lot of things on the shelves behind me back there. You tell I'm an avid reader. And when you manage that, you manage the shelf, you manage a commodity. And
Yeah.
that's where things break down. There's too many people out there.
Wow.
They start to manage people
Yeah.
and they treat them like they are a commodity. They treat
Mhm.
them like they are boxes of styrofoam cups out in the warehouse floor. And when we treat people like that, they know that people don't want to be treated like a commodity.
Right.
You had mentioned that posting, and that wasn't me who put that up there, but there's a hey, they don't listen to us. Well, they're
Mhm.
not listening to them because they, and it's always they, isn't
They.
it? The
Mhm.
department of
Mhm.
they, the infamous department of they. They are treating them,
Mhm.
like garbage because they think that they're a commodity,
Right.
and that doesn't work. Yeah,
No.
treat people like a human being, and treat them with respect, and start listening to them. And hey, maybe some things will start changing around a little bit.